Hey guys, welcome back to Heart Breathings. Today I am so excited to not only share with you that I have just recently celebrated 8 full years as a self-published indie author, but also my top 8 tips for things that I have learned for how to be a joyful indie author, how to navigate this very difficult and emotionally challenging career and come out on top, not only successfully as a self-publisher, but also successfully as a human being who is an artist and wants to make a living doing something that you love. So rather than put all 8 tips in one video, because I tend to talk a lot and I have a lot that I want to share that I'm very passionate about, and making this like an hour-long video, I have decided to break this into 8 separate videos that hopefully will come off a little bit shorter. So today we're going to be talking about my first tip, which is that comparison kills your joy. So I'm so glad that you're here. Today we're going to talk about one of the number one things I have learned over the last 8 years, and this applies to you in every facet of your life, not just your indie publishing. But the truth is that comparison is truly the thief of joy. Comparison can kill your joy for writing, your joy for creating, your joy for every little milestone that you hit in your life. And this is something that I struggled with quite a bit in the early days of my indie career, and I have really had to work on over the past several years. Now, I know that many of you are hoping that, oh gosh, I want to know how she sold over 500,000 books, and I want all the marketing tips. And I know that a lot of you have asked me to share more marketing tips on this channel, and I do have some things coming up for you. But one of the main reasons that I choose to focus on the more emotional side and the more organizational side of being an indie author is that this is extremely important. When you are running your own business as a creative entrepreneur, there's lots of types of entrepreneurs out there, and what they do is they write blog posts or they follow a series of checklists and, they take courses and they learn how to do stuff. But when you're a creative entrepreneur and you're writing fiction and you're writing your own books, you put more of yourself into that creative process, and it's not something that you can create in a week or create in a weekend. This is something that potentially takes you months, if not years of your life to create. And so it is a more emotionally challenging type of career to be an indie author. And so it is so important to make sure that your mindset is in the right place so that you can continue to create. I cannot stress the importance of this enough. And maybe that should be a tip all on its own. But that is why so many of the tips that you're going to hear from me are more about navigating the emotional and the mindset challenges of being an indie author. But there will be a few tips in here also about the marketing side of things. And if you are looking for some of my better marketing advice, you might want to watch my series on how to write a best-selling series, because writing series with a loss leader and good branding, and I talk about all these kinds of things in that video series, is one of the best strategies that still works to this day and helped to launch my career. And so you might want to go back and watch that. But in this video series, over the next few days, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the more emotional tips and mindset tips that I hope will help you to navigate the more emotionally challenging waters of this self-publishing career. All right, so with that being said, let's talk about comparison. Like I said, this is something that I really struggled with early on, because I think that it's just natural in this type of digital career where the numbers are out there. You can see very clearly how someone is ranking. You can see very clearly how many followers they have. We attach these numbers to things all the time in our culture right now, where we've got social media and digital, publishing and things like that. So it's very easy to see on the surface, like this person has 20,000 followers and they're ranked 500 in the Kindle store and blah, blah, blah. And then you look at that and you can easily judge yourself based on that. Well, I only have 5,000 subscribers and they've got 20,000. That must mean that I am no longer as good as they are. And this is just such a huge problem emotionally for us, because once you start to compare yourself to other people with be it their numbers, be it how fast they write, or, how many compliments or comments they get on their Facebook page, or, even there are certain Facebook groups out there where people love to share screenshots of how much money they made every month. But the truth is, a lot of what you see, first of all, is smoke and mirrors, especially when people talk about their income. There are some of us out there who are very transparent with our income or our sales. I used to share my sales numbers monthly on my blog, and I stopped doing that years ago. But there are some of us who are transparent about it. And then there are other people who will come out and say, oh, my very first month, I made $15,000 and I'm amazing. And they share screenshots and they tell everybody what amazing job they did. But what you don't see is on the back side of it, you don't see that they spent nearly $15,000 to promote their book, and they got every friend they know to share and to buy the book. And, some of these things are things that you can't do long term. It's just, I spent all this money to launch so that I could have this great screenshot of my income. And I know it sounds ridiculous that people would do that, but it is true that they do. So you can't always compare yourself to what someone else says their numbers are. And of course, some numbers are just transparent as they are. Like somebody has 20,000 followers on their Facebook or likes on their Facebook page. You may not have that, but how does that mean that you are not as good as them? A lot of times that person probably has, 5 years into that career and you've just gotten started. So why would you compare yourself where you are on your journey to that person who's obviously been doing this longer or had more time to build up that following? What you need to remember is that you are on your own individual journey. This isn't about someone else's journey, and no one is sitting here going, well, Sarra Cannon has this and you have this. Nobody is sitting there judging you based on your numbers and saying, you're not good enough because you don't have as many Facebook followers as XYZ. And if someone is doing that, that's someone that you don't need to be associating with because they don't have your best interests at heart. We have to try as creatives to step away from all the numbers that are out there that allow us to so easily compare ourselves with other people. And yes, there are going to be times when it gets really hard. Like maybe you've worked your butt off and you've come up with this series and you've spent 6 months pre-writing and launching and you've spent money and, you've done all this stuff and it just doesn't launch the way that you wanted it to. And then you're going to look across the aisle there on your Kindle and you're going to see that somebody else who's brand new and never done this before, and you've been at this for 6 years, and they, knocked it out of the park and they've got all this sales. They've got everybody talking about their book. All these bloggers are covering it, and they're doing better than you when you look at the short-term numbers. And that is going to feel really, really bad. It happens to all of us. It happens to New York Times bestsellers that this kind of comparison becomes a problem. And what you have to remember when you start to feel that way about someone else's career is that's their journey. And there's a unique set of circumstances that has gotten them to that level. And you also have to remember that that is one snapshot in time. That is your journey versus that person's journey right now. And some of it is true. Some of it isn't even true. Some of it's just stuff that your mind tells you, oh, they're better than me. They're doing better. They're making more money or whatever. And the truth may not be that they're making more money. It may be that they spent more money, or it may be that they're ranking better than you for this exact moment in time, but over the course of the month, they haven't sold as many books as you. Our ego sometimes likes to lie to us in order to push us down. And I hate that about our ego, but especially as creatives, we do get caught up in our heads with these lies, like we're not as good, or, I wish that I could be more like them. Now, I do understand that for some people, comparison can be a good thing. You might compare yourself, like you might look up to someone else and say, I want their career. How did they do that? And you might be able to look at what they did, pull some strategies out of what, pushed them up to the top and use that as inspiration, or use it as something you want to try in your own career. Well, that's great. If it inspires you and it feels good, use that. But the kind of comparison I'm talking about is when you look at how someone else is doing and it makes you feel like you are less of a person or that you are not as talented. That kind of comparison does you absolutely no good, because it is lies. It is lies. Something in you is afraid to succeed. Something in you is afraid that you're not good enough. And so it's lying to you to try to protect you. It's saying, look at this, here's proof that you are not good enough. And if you go around in your life looking for proof that you're not good enough and that someone's better than you, you're always going to find that. And what good does that do you to compare yourself just to get proof that you're not good enough? And it fills you with negative feelings. It makes you feel like you don't deserve to be where you are. And it's just not a great jumping off point to be extremely creative and to create an entire world out of your brain. So I don't recommend comparing yourself to other people. What I want you to remember is this: you always have a choice of whether you want to focus on the negative of here's the things I don't have, because in truth, that's what comparison is. Comparison is looking at someone else and saying they have this and I want it and I don't have it, or they have this that I feel like they don't deserve it and I do. And so you're focusing on this lack mentality of here's something I want that I don't have, and they're proving to me that it's possible, and it just makes me angry because, or it makes me hurt because, or it makes me feel like I'm not good enough because I don't have it. And if you choose to focus on the things you don't have, then you're just going to continue to focus on the things you don't have. You may actually be gaining 1,000 followers every couple of months and selling a few more books and moving forward and not even notice it or be grateful for it, because all you're focused on is Susie Q romance right over here who's doing better than you are. Where is the joy in that? Where is the sense of accomplishment? Where is the motivation in that? It just does you absolutely no good to continue to compare yourself to other people. So instead of focusing on the things you don't have and the things that other people have that you wish you had, try focusing instead on the things that you're grateful for, the things that you're good at, the things that you get inspired to do or that you get to do. I mean, if I start to compare myself to someone else and I say, gosh, I've been working so hard for 8 years and I just can't break this ceiling, or I just can't, seem to get this ranking on Amazon, or I'm not selling as many books as I want. If I focus on the lack of things or the things that I don't have, then I don't feel motivated to get up and start working on the next book. I just feel tired, frankly. But if I can shift my mindset into this place where I start to think, oh my gosh, I have this amazing job. I get to talk to characters in my head. I get to create worlds. I get to, explore what it means to be a hero, what it means to fall on your face and get back up, what it means to confront evil. I get to come up with these cool spells and fireballs and orbs of light. And, there's all these things that I get to do. And I get to be surrounded by stationery. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. And I have a job where I get to, actually use colorful note cards, and it becomes like actually useful and functional rather than just me playing around with note cards. That kind of stuff gets me excited. It gets me motivated. I get to focus on, instead of like, oh, she's got 20,000 people in her newsletter and I don't understand why she has that and why don't I have that, which only makes me feel bad. I can choose instead to focus on things like, wow, look at the 1,200 fans that I have over here who are being interactive in this Facebook group, and look how much they're enjoying the book, and look how much they're becoming a community. And even if that number was only 200 or 20, look at those 20 people that are reading my book that are so excited that they wanted to join my group. It's not a comparison. Because you have 20 and she has 20,000 does not make her better than you. And that's what you need to understand the most out of everything in this conversation is, just because someone has a better number than you, somewhere further down the road, does not make them better, because you have unique gifts. You have unique opportunities in your career. So focus on yourself. This is something I talk about some in my 3-day boot camp course, where we talk about, moving toward what you want and how to really get what you want, get toward your vision. Is, if you're running and you're just going straight toward the finish line, you're going to be going in a straight line. But if somebody passes you and you choose to turn your head and watch what they're doing, you're going to naturally veer into their lane, and you're going to be now following their finish line, not your own. This is an analogy that comes from Todd Henry's book, Louder Than Words. And it really struck home with me because, the more you compare yourself to other people and you think about what they're doing and you pay attention to everything they're doing, the more, instead of following your path toward your dreams and your individual unique vision for your life, you're going to veer into their vision. You're going to be starting to follow their path and hitting their goals. And the truth is, you're always going to be behind them. You're always going to be several steps behind because they're already on that journey. And hopefully they're following, the life path that they want to follow. But unless their life path is your life path and your goals, and it lines exactly with what they're doing, why the heck are you trying to do what they're doing? Why the heck are you comparing your journey with their individual unique journey? It does you no good. And I cannot tell you this enough. Comparison is truly the thief of joy. Stop comparing yourself to other people. If it doesn't motivate you and it doesn't make you feel good, just stop paying attention to it. Focusing on the lack is never going to serve you, but focusing on the things that you have, even if there's only a couple of really amazing things, like this story. I have this story that I love. I have these 20 devoted fans. I have this great supportive partner who is listening to me. I have this amazing best friend who lets me talk through my stories. Whatever it is, I have this NaNoWriMo community. I have this YouTuber that I love to watch, not saying it's me, but just in case. Focus on those things because they bring you joy and they make you feel good. And the things that don't make you feel good, the things that make you feel like you're less than or you're not good enough, those things you can just let them go because they're truly lies. The more you can learn to switch that mindset to the things that bring you joy, the more you're going to be joyfully creative and the more you're going to be successful in actually hitting your own goals and moving towards your own dreams. All right, guys. So long enough conversation. You can see why I'm going to break this into 8 videos. So this is today's video on comparison. I hope that you will come back for the next video in just a couple of days. And I'm going to be taking you through my top 8 tips that I have learned through the trenches of indie publishing over the last 8 years. Hopefully you will join me in that next video. And I would love to have you subscribe to this channel if you've enjoyed this video. Make sure that you hit that notification bell so that you will get notified the next time a new video goes up from me. And if you liked that video, go ahead and hit that like button down below. And I would love to have you comment and let me know where you are on your self-publishing journey. If you've been published for a few years, if you're still waiting to self-publish, or if like me, maybe you've been around self-publishing since 2010. So I would love to hear from you. And other than that, guys, I will see you in my next video. Bye.